What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, and we have the final rankings of Superflex before we get into the NFL draft here. And the NFL draft will change some things when it comes to NFL rankings. It's not going to change things drastically, but it is going to change some of these players within a couple of spots up and down here. And some of these guys might drop if their draft capital goes kaput. And so Breece Hall, 101, is going to be the number one player. He is in the tier by himself because he should be in every league the first overall pick. I don't think in every league he will be. I do think you're going to see Malik Willis sneak in there, and you might even see a wide receiver needy team sneak in and grab a Drake London or a Garrett Wilson over Breece Hall. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's going to be less likely. That's maybe like a 5% chance, and then like a 30% chance it's going to be Malik Willis, and then 65% chance, if I did that math right in my head, that it's going to be Breece Hall. Breece Hall, 6'1", 215 pounds, ran below a 4.40. He's not even 21 years old. The biggest concern was his top-end speed. He kind of showed that he is pretty much the entire complete package. 10.9 target share, 41.9% career dominator. I don't know what else you want Breece Hall to do besides do what he just did. He is in the elite categories of prospects. We were talking about Ezekiel Elliott, that type of prospect where you're looking at a guy that is probably going to be at that next level for 4 or 5 years. I mean, we're talking Jonathan Taylor level. Like, those are the type of prospects that we're looking at. And Breece Hall has the chance of being in that tier. DeAndre Swift was another player in the last couple of years that checked off all the boxes, and that's what Breece Hall does here. This is going to be a tier of four players, really. It's going to be start off with Kenneth Walker. By the way, if you're new to the channel, we are still giving away this DeAndre Swift jersey until we hit 2K. All you gotta do is be subscriber. Kenneth Walker has moved into that number 2 spot here. Just watching more Kenneth Walker tape, he was number 3 early on, but he's moved up 5'10", 210. The biggest thing I think people were worried about, I mean, his contact balance, he was the best running back in the collegiate level last year. I think the biggest concern was his pass catching, although I think that some of that he could be a Leonard Fournette. Let's just put it that way. Leonard Fournette is not an amazing pass catcher, but is sufficient enough where if he's put in the right situation that he can succeed at the next level, just like he did with Tom Brady. And even when he was a Jaguar, he was still decent enough in the receiving game. He's not a Ronald Jones by any means. Ronald Jones is somebody that has no hands, or a Jordan Howard. He is not even close to that, in my opinion. That's what I believe on Kenneth Walker, why he is the second overall pick. Number 3, number 4, and number 5. Why don't we just go right through it? 3, 4, 5, right here. Burks, Wilson, London. Who do you want? This is the Chase Smith Waddle debate. Which receiver would you rather have? In my opinion, it was Smith pre-NFL draft, and then Jamar Chase jumped him slightly post-NFL draft. Because of that landing spot, and then the Eagles, of course, you're going to have Jalen Hurts. That's going to hurt him a little bit. So, again, these wide receivers are just going to move within probably a tier. You may see some of the wide receivers from 2 jump up because there is that high upside potential if they're put in the right situation. Kansas City, Green Bay, that they might move into that tier or pass one of these tier 1 wide receivers. Burks goes to the Eagles. He goes to Tennessee, or London goes to a team that we hate. He goes to, I wouldn't even say Houston. I'm trying to think of a team that I absolutely hate. Drake London goes to Minnesota. Why would Drake London go to Minnesota? I have no idea. But that would be a situation where, even then, I would probably still have him into that area. But that's 3, 4, and 5. And then we get into this another tier. We have Malik Willis at 6, and Isaiah Spiller at 7. George Pickens at 8, and Jamison Williams at 9. Really, this is the risk. Now, I'm going to put this as the risk tier. Tier 3, the risk tier, the scary tier. Why it's the scary tier is because I think 2 of these players will probably succeed at the next level. And 2 of these players might just absolutely bust at the next level. And so I see Jamison Williams working in his ACL rehab and stuff. That's his biggest concern. He was ACL recovery. He wasn't even my wide receiver number 1 going into it. He sorry, if I can say things correctly. It's a little bit late at night on Monday. We're recording this for Tuesday because the NFL draft is getting here soon. And so Jamison Williams is a prospect that I had probably into tier 1, but that ACL recovery, I mean, yes, ACLs are so common now that their recovery is so quick, But still, there is definitely some concerns about Jamison Williams at the next level that we can go further into if you want to. But that's why I have him even below George Pickens, who is another ACL recovery injury. But I really like George Pickens, and there's a lot of people that either love or hate George Pickens. But I have him in my tier 2 wide receivers, tier 3 overall. Malik Willis is the ultimate boomer bust prospect. I love his legs. I love his athleticism. I love his power of his arm. But there is huge red flags. Consistency, small throws, accuracy. He reminds me a ton of Jalen Hurts at times, where you're just going, what? He's not a quarterback. He is not a quarterback. Why are they forcing him to play quarterback? He would be a great backyard player. But is that going to be enough at the next level? Or is he going to end up being a player that gets drafted and then just gets kind of, not Justin Fields but he just gets kind of stuck into these modes where Gino Smith, is he the next Gino Smith? Or the next RG3? These are all players or prospects that were super high or pretty high and just ended up not panning out. Or can he hone it all together? And if he owns it all together, he could be the easiest steal of the draft. So that's where I have him. And then Isaiah Spiller, the biggest downfall. I mean, if you look at Isaiah Spiller, I had him at 4 a couple months ago. He's 6'1", 225 pounds. He's physical and he's got great vision, but his pass pro sucks. His pass catching is even poor at times. And there's problems with potentially his quickness and speed. He's even been injured, so how long does that linger in? I mean, we talk about injuries that happen in combines, and all of a sudden they slowly linger into off-season stuff, and then they linger into regular season stuff, and it's like they just keep lingering. You hear these things that happen now, all of a sudden they just linger, and all of a sudden they become muscle injuries. When they're soft tissue injuries, they're more prone to being re-injured, whether it's hamstrings or calves or whatever it might be. These are concerns. These are definitely concerns. But when we go into 10, 11, and 12, we have Matt Corral, we have Chris Olave, we have Kenny Pickett, and even past that, we have Johan Dawson, which is, we'll just say, number 13th in there. And then we have David Bell. David Bell is the ultimately almost forgotten man, where I've seen him at wide receiver 15 at times, and I've seen him at wide receiver 10 at times, and of course you can see that I'm pretty highly ranked on David Bell because I think he's going to be a solid producer at the next level. I think he's going to be a wide receiver, or I think he's going to be drafted in round 3. That's going to be the biggest key. Will he be drafted in round 3? Johan Dawson's been somebody that's been definitely moving up my boards. I see more and more Elijah Moore light to him, and if I can hone that in at the end of the first round in Superflex, it's going to be positive. And Chris Olave is somebody that I think would be fit perfect into a Green Bay system. I think that there's huge red flags that he cannot break tackles and he cannot do any run after the catch. He's basically a possession wide receiver, but he's a great route runner. So there are things I really like about Chris Olave, and there's things I don't like about him. I don't see why I've seen people put him in the top 2, and I cannot see that. I think that's not crazy, but I think it's hard to see. Matt Corral and Kenny Pickett, it's all, and even Desmond Ridder, is all going to be based on landing spots. Will one of them go to Pittsburgh? Will one of them go to Atlanta? Will one of them go to Indianapolis? Where do these quarterbacks end up going? Will one of them go to Seattle? Or do they get put behind players? Does one go to Philadelphia? Or does one go to New Orleans and make a mess of it? And potentially, if Matt Corral goes to New Orleans, some might love it, and I might sit there and go, man, does he beat out Jameis Winston? Is he better than Jameis Winston? I don't think so. So there's a lot to think about, and right past that too, we have Christian Watson, who is the ultimate sky riser in this NFL draft, right behind even Johan Dawson at 14, and because Christian Watson is the ultimate prospect of Chase Claypool or DK Metcalf. You have the RAS score, the relative athletic score, the score that tells you how athletic is a player, and when you have somebody that's basically a 10, that is something that you can't just recreate. And so if you can put him on Kansas City or Green Bay, these are all landing spots that are going to be very drastic. And running backs, right now I don't have, the running backs are kind of in this middle second round. There's a ton of them. From 4 to 14, it doesn't matter, but really 4 to 14, there's going to be a lot of running backs that I'm going to be, I've kind of stopped watching film on the Jerome Fords, the Damian Pierces, or the Tyler Beatties. I've just kind of stopped. I've watched enough where I'm all right, I like them, but who's going to be drafted in round 3? And who's not going to be drafted in round 3? Who's going to be put on round 5 or 6? Because if they're going to be put in round 5 or 6, or even Zamir White or Rashad White, like if they're going to be put in round 5 or 6, I'm not going to really care about them as much. I'm not going to watch as much tape through them. I'm going to look for that deep darling, the small town school with high production, and I'm going to try to find that player that could be the next James Robinson or Elijah Mitchell. And we'll see who that is, and I'll see what that comes up with, and who knows, maybe it'll be Sincere McCormick or something like that ends up being drafted in the 6th round to a team that I end up being liking, and so we're going to have to figure out where some of these running backs go. And right now, there are a lot of them that are kind of just sitting into that like 2nd round to 3rd round until we find draft capital. It's going to be the most important thing when it comes to these running backs. And then there's wide receivers too that we definitely don't know where they're going to be going. We have like Wan'Dale Robinson and Sky Moore and Jalen Tolbert. Like these are all wide receivers that again are also into the 2nd round, but we just don't know where their draft capital is going to lie. Is it going to be into that first 3 rounds? Is it not? Where their name's going to be called off? Because if it's into that 4th round or later, their draft capital is going to basically be Skyfall. What is it? 777 Skyfall. It's going to be James Bond. It's going to be falling through the roof. And wait, falling through the roof. That doesn't make sense. Falling through the floor. Falling through the floor. So that is where I have a lot of these rankings. I know I gave you kind of a concrete top 14 and then the general gist, not exactly mode, but if you want the exact mode, you have to go on Patreon, but whatever. By the way, if you are a Patreon supporter, you can send, if you can send your team before the beginning of the year. Please don't send your Dynasty Dads League team. Send a different team, and I will give you a full breakdown of what you should do. You can do that before draft, NFL draft, before draft, or after the NFL draft. I had a 24 to 48 hour turnaround on those full team breakdowns. But if you were going to send it to me on Thursday, just letting you know, it will not happen Thursday. It will probably not happen Friday. It may happen Saturday. It might happen Sunday. It will happen, but this is NFL draft time. I'm going to be putting a ton of focus in there. I might even do a live, depending on what that. I'm solo dadding for right now on Thursday night, so we'll see if I can actually watch the draft. And you know what? I might even just put up the camera. You might just see me and Jackson playing for a while, and I might talk a little bit about fantasy football, dynasty football. I might talk some questions and stuff like that. That might happen Thursday or. If it doesn't, then I'll try to make a video, an immediate reaction video. Oh gosh, Friday I'm busy. And we have Timberwolves playoffs, I think at 12 at noon. Gosh, I will try to do my best. That's all I will say. Friday will be interesting. I will probably not be able to do, and I have a couple buddies coming over Friday. Might not be able to do a Friday video, which might be heartbreaking for most of you. No, I'm just kidding. It just might not happen. So, again, this is Marcus with Dynasty Fun. Peace out. We'll see you soon, guys.